1941.
April 1941.
The place is Plymouth. Our story describes one night in the life of this city.
It tells the story of people like us.
You and me.
Your mother, your sister.
Your brother, your uncle.
Bus drivers, caretakers, shop assistants.
Teachers, nurses, firemen.
Welders and bricklayers.
Electricians and dentists.
Our story is about you and me.
And our story is about a young woman called Vera.
I was 18 years old in April 1941 and working in a Spooner's department store in the centre of town.
In the hair salon.
I loved working there. It was a dream come true.
But in March of 1941, incendiary bombs had destroyed most of Spooner's department store in the city centre.
However, not to be deterred, staff recovered what stocks they could, and stores reopened in several locations across the city.
Women and children's wear in Tavistock Road.
Men's and boys department in Old Town Street.
And the hair salon moved to Town Centre on Butley Plain. It was quite exciting, really.
The evening of Monday the 21st of April was fine and cloudless.
Perfect weather for accurate night bombing.
But there were still plenty of people out on the street on this lovely spring evening.
People hurrying here and there. Most of them were rushing home when the bombing raids started.
Vera, fancy coming to the cinema with us? It's Sailors 3 at the Odeon. Has Tommy Trinder in it. I love Tommy Trinder.
Oh, I'm so sorry I can't come. I volunteered to be an air raid warden. I was told to report here at 6 o'clock.
You haven't, have you? They wouldn't take you. You're far too young. I thought you had to be 30 years old.
No. They lowered the age limit because they couldn't get enough people to apply, so, well, why don't you sign up?
Me?
Yeah.
I'd be far too scared to do that, what with all the noise and the sound of bombs and the gunfire. I'm surprised your mum has let you volunteer.
Yeah, Mum's not too well at the moment. You know how she is with her nerves and But anyway, I'm 18 years old now and I want to help out where I can, so...
That's good on you, Vera. Oh, I've got to go. The film starts in 30 minutes. I don't want to be late. Let's hope we don't have a bombing raid tonight.
Yeah. I hope you enjoy yourself!
Vera? Fancy seeing you here. Don't you remember me? Douglas Ackland. We went to primary school together. Miss Holroyd's class. You sat at the front of the class. I think with that girl. What was her name?
Jenny. Oh yes, I remember him now, all right. He was always trying to steal my coloured pencils.
It was a bit of fun. Miss Holroyd is a right tartar, wasn't she?
What are you doing around here, Doug? I thought you lived in Stonehouse.
Oh yeah, we did. But just before the war started, we moved to Alton Road.
I haven't seen you around this area.
No, but I see you every morning on your way to work. You waltz past our house with your head in the air. I'm usually just finishing my breakfast. And then I just see you rushing off to work.
I don't like being late. I don't want to get in trouble with the floor supervisor.
Anyway, what are you doing here?
Well, I volunteered to be an air raid warden and I was told to report here at 6 o'clock.
Snap! So did I. Fancy that.
Are you two the new volunteers for air raid wardens? Names?
I'm Vera Rundle.
Age?
18 years, sir.
What about you, sir?
Douglas Ackland. Everyone calls me Doug.
Well, I would be. You look a bit young. You look alone as being an air raid warden. Surely you should be out at the front.
I'm 18 years and I'm a student at the technical college. And they won't take me to the front, sir. I did try. Got turned down. Particularly hard. Born with it, they tell me. So that's why I'm here.
Right. Well, you can all do your bit here. This is your air raid post. This is your hut, number 1F2. I know it doesn't look much, but it's all you're going to get. Telephone, 2 camp beds, table, 2 chairs, firefighter equipment, ransoms of gas warnings, your bucket orders, don't lose that, whatever you do. Telephone numbers, first aid kit, gas mask, water bottles, torches, emergency numbers, and street maps. Now have you got all that?
Yeah.
And this is your patch. Along Pebble Park Road to Central Park, along here and over here. It is your responsibility to ensure all orders received are carried out immediately.
Right, sir.
Right, it's your duty to ensure that you know everyone living in the area.
Everyone? How do you manage that?
You go and visit each house.
Every house?
Yes, you need to introduce yourself and make a list of names. And don't forget important details.
Well, what important details do you mean, sir?
Details like, do they live alone? Do they have a cat or a dog? Are they deaf or handicapped? How many persons live in the house in the evening? All those sort of details. Clear?
Clear, sir.
Right, as soon as the siren sound, you will supervise the area, which means...
Racing around your area and making sure no lights are visible.
No, no, no. There is going to be no racing around. Running around just causes panic. And that's the last thing you want to do in these situations. Stupid boy. No, you walk around your area quickly but calmly. Understood?
Don't worry, I can do that, sir.
But if there's this warning siren, no warning siren and the planes arrive, then it becomes a bit trickier, young man. Right, we'll see you tomorrow evening. We should by tomorrow have your uniforms ready. Make sure you're back here 6 o'clock sharp.
Yes, sir.
On the night of the 21st of April, the German 3rd Air Fleet have mobilised 133 bombers in northern France for night raids against England.
On the night of the 21st of April, 120 of those aircraft were to be used to attack Plymouth.
On the night of the 21st of April, the enemy aircraft arrived over Plymouth at precisely 8:39 p.m.
On the night of the 21st of April, within minutes they had released 10,000 incendiary bombs, which started huge fires right across the city.
On that particular evening, I popped round to see my sister Nora. Nora only lived a few streets away from me, and she'd been having a hard time of it recently. She was always a bit nervy, even as a child, and what with all the bombing raids, it had made her even more anxious.
Oh, I can feel my heart palpitating all the time. My nerves are all on edge these days, Doreen.
When I got there, I found her trying to move a huge wooden table into the centre of the room. You're lucky I popped round, Laura. You could have injured yourself trying to move that table.
Bill's mother gave us that table when we first got married.
Oh, God rest her soul. She was a good woman, was Bill's mum. We used to see her at church every Sunday, didn't we? Always sat in the same pew. And she had a lovely singing voice. She enjoyed singing, didn't she, sis?
I always thought that table was an ugly piece of furniture. I never liked it from day one. But I couldn't refuse it, because it would have upset Bill something terrible. It being his mum's gift to us.
Good old-fashioned table, solid wood, I bet.
Well, that's what I thought so too, and that's why I thought I'd move it into the front room. It came to me during that air raid last week.
Oh, Nora, I thought we were all going to die during that raid. I was saying my rosary and offering prayers to the Virgin Mary to save us. I must have said my rosary half a dozen times that night, and I promised to go on a pilgrimage to Walsingham if we were spared.
We didn't have time to get to the shelter. So me and Bill and Vera, we were trapped under those stairs all through that awful night. Oh, it was so uncomfortable. And smelly too. I'm sure there's mice under those stairs.
Oh, you wouldn't get me under those stairs if there's mice there.
I remember you and mice from when we were children. You would scream your head off at the sight of a mouse.
Lord, perhaps we can go on a pilgrimage together when the war's over. Like we used to, what do you think?
I was convinced that the whole house would fall on top of us. And then we'd be trapped under those stairs and no one would ever find us.
You should come dark times.
And that's when I remembered this table, Doreen. Look, you can fit 4 people under there quite comfortably. So this is where me and Bill and Vera are going to shelter from now on. Oh, and Mrs. Netherton, of course, if she wants.
I don't know what happened to Nora. I don't know where she lost her religion.
Prayers to the Virgin Mary won't help me when there's bombs falling right, left and centre. How long have these raids been going on? I can't remember the last time I had a decent night's sleep. They're playing havoc with my mind, Doreen.
Well, prayers help me, and they used to help you, or so you used to say. You were always the first one at Mass on Sunday. Sometimes twice. Where did it all go wrong?
Well, perhaps it hasn't all gone wrong, Doreen. I've had my fill of all that prayers and all that stuff and nonsense. Oh, I tell you, I can't stand much more of this bombing, Doreen. I don't know whether I'm coming or going at the moment, and all this dirt and dust everywhere. It gets into every tiny crack and crevice.
Well, that table isn't going to protect you. You need to go down to the shelter like you used to. You'll be better off there.
I am not leaving this house, sister.
Well, when I got home later that evening, it was clear that Mum and Auntie Doreen had been arguing. So, who's going to tell me who brought that dirty old table into the front room?
Your mum says she's going to shelter under there from now on. Have a word with her, Vera. Make her see sense. She won't listen to a word I say.
I thought you said you were on duty tonight, Vera.
Yes, well, I don't have my uniform, so the warden sent me home.
Your mum said you'd volunteer to be an air raid warden. If I had a daughter, I'd be so proud if she volunteered to be a warden.
She'll get herself killed. I've told her. And then what will me and Bill do?
She'll be fine, Nora. You should be proud of your daughter.
And your father is away fire watching his works. He's never here when you need him.
Where's Uncle Harry? Is he home yet?
Uncle Harry's working at the dockyards until 9 o'clock, so he won't be home till later. But he promised to be home for us girls, as he puts it. So it's just us girls together for tonight.
Hello. Do you mind if I join you again?
Oh no, of course not, Mrs. Netherton. It's always nice to see you and the baby.
It's just me and the baby upstairs, and I get scared being alone at night.
Mrs. Netherton was lodging with us at that point. She had one of the upstairs rooms. Mum had found her a few days ago, wandering around the streets, her baby cradled in her arms. Her house had been, well, firebombed, and she had nowhere else to stay. No belongings, nothing other than the clothes that she stood up in. So, Mum said that she could come and stay with us until things got sorted out at least.
Lots of people helped out like that. There but for the grace of God.
It's the sound of the bombing and the gunfire that really gets to me. I'm shaking like a leaf and it hasn't even started yet.
Perhaps there won't be much bombing tonight. What do you think, Nora?
Oh, you may be right, Doreen.
Oh, I've got a story. Lighten the mood. Do you remember that time when my dad decided to build our air raid shelter in the front room? Did we tell you that story?
Oh, that sounds like your dad.
Him and his politics.
Well, digging a 4-foot hole in the front garden was not Dad's idea of fun, so he built it in the front room. That's what he did.
Well, Vera, our front room was never a proper posh front room, were it? With chintzy covers and knickknacks and that.
Oh no, but it was our dining room.
And now it was 4/4 full with a huge corrugated iron monstrosity. Dad thought it fitted in quite nicely.
Yeah, then.
So what persuaded you, Dad, to take it down?
No. Not what. Who?
I insisted you removed it immediately. No ifs or buts, it had to go.
Ha!
So, then Dad and I spent the best part of one Saturday dismantling the damn thing, and then we had the job of digging a hole in the garden as well.
And after all that fuss, we only ever used that shelter once. And that was enough to convince us never to bother with it again, especially when we learned that a shelter, just a few doors down, had received a direct hit. Oh, there's that noise again! Oh, for God's sake, will you leave us alone?
Nora, don't take the Lord's name in vain.
Well, perhaps it would have been better if Dad had left our air raid shelter in the front room after all. So there we were, the four of us trying to cram ourselves onto that table. We could hear bombs falling continuously, the windows smashing and the ceilings falling in. It seemed to go on hour after hour.
night of the 21st of April, aircraft initially attacked the residential areas around Devonport and then the Royal Naval
On the night
Dockyard.
of the 21st of April, huge fires that the incendiary bombs had already started illuminated the whole city below, enabling the German aircrew easily to locate their targets.
On the night of the 21st of April, the attack lasted for 6 hours.
On the night of the 21st of April, 35,000 incendiary bombs and 700 high explosive bombs were dropped on poor Plymouth.
Go away! Go back to where you came from! Oh, where are you now, Almighty Father? How are you letting them do this to us night after night? Have pity on us, please!
Nora, stop it!
Whether you were at home or in the public shelters, you couldn't just sit there in silence during the raids. So there was always a lively conversation going on in the shelters. Folk huddled together, trying to forget what was happening all around them.
Did you hear about Mr. and Mrs. Trevy?
No,
Did you hear about them? You'd never guess what happened last night.
tittle-tattle you might call it, but anything to try and take your mind off what was going on outside.
Did you hear about what happened to Doris?
What, Doris from Hotham Place?
Yes, that Doris.
Oh, I remember Doris when she was a baby and her mum used to wheel around Victoria Park. Such a pretty baby, wasn't she, Laura?
Did you hear she was going to get married to that soldier lad you met at the dance?
She must be the same age as you. You went to school together, didn't you?
Yes, I remember Doris.
Well, her husband's been injured in the bombing raid last week.
Oh, no, not serious, I hope.
Oh, nothing serious. A broken leg and a bit of concussion. He's all about scratches now.
Oh, well, that's all right then.
He was lucky, really. The shelter where he'd been sitting took a direct hit on the entrance area.
Oh, wow. What a lucky boy.
But they couldn't go ahead with the wedding.
Oh, why not?
Doris's mother's house was bombed.
Oh.
The wedding dress went up in smoke.
Oh, dear.
And the 5 bridesmaids' dresses.
Dresses.
And the chocolate wedding cake.
Oh, I love
The
that.
restaurant in Union Street where they were going to have the reception was completely flattened.
Oh.
And so was the church. Charles Church. Burnt out by those incendiary bombs.
So what is Doris going to do?
Well, they've decided they're going to postpone the wedding.
Oh, good idea.
Just
Yes.
for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And then they're going to get married in the ruins of the Charles Church. With just a few members of family present. Instead of having that big white wedding with all the trimmings they
Oh,
planned.
very sensible.
Yeah.
They were really lucky. It could have been so much worse.
We're not going to survive this army, Vera.
Don't say that. Doreen, I promise. If I die tonight, you won't cover my baby. I don't want to be put in an orphanage.
Don't say that. We're going to get through this. We're going to make sure of that.
Oh, I wish your dad was here with us. I would be safe somewhere.
Oh, my Harry, I hope he's not trying to get back to us now. It's serious.
Am I only 2? Wherever the body is. God bless them.
Dory, will you say some prayers? I just can't seem to remember any prayers at all at the moment.
Prayer? What prayer would you like me to say?
Anyone will do. Oh yes, that one will do.
Let's say it together.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Perhaps it was the fact that we were 4 women on our own unnerved us that night. So there we were, the 4 of us crammed under that table all throughout that awful evening. And Mrs. Netherton's baby, well, it never made a sound. And as the noise of the planes faded into the distance, I heard a voice calling to us from outside.
Hello?
It was a young sailor boy. He couldn't have been much older than me. He was covered in dust and grime, and he had this strange, dazed sort of look in his eyes.
Hello, is anyone in there?
Oh, yes, we're in here, we're safe.
I'm looking for a Mrs. Croft.
Oh, that's me. Why? What?
I've just come from the shelter at the playground at College Road School. A bomb landed in the road outside. When I came out of the shelter, I found a man in the bomb crater, seriously injured.
Oh, how bad is it?
They've taken him into the shelter and sent for an ambulance. I went through his pockets to find his identity and Croft. Harry Croft.
Oh, that's my husband.
I tried to go to his address around the corner, but there was nobody in. Neighbour said Mrs. Croft might be here at her sister's house.
Oh, God save us. Can you take me to him, please?
Have you got any sheets we could take to use as bandages?
Is he in a bad way then?
Well, I'm not sure.
Oh, I've got some sheets in my room upstairs.
Don't worry, Doreen. Everything will be all right. Harry's a tough character.
Well, it was then that I noticed the sailor boy was shaking and shivering all over. He asked me for a glass of water. Very polite he was. Please and thank yous to everything. We didn't have any running water, so I got him a glass from the bucket that we kept in the kitchen. But there must have been dust and grime that settled on it during the bombing raids. He didn't seem to mind though. He drank the whole thing in one gulp, as if he'd just finished crossing the Sahara Desert. And then, well, I'm not quite sure how it happened, but the glass just seemed to slip through his hands and smash on the floor.
I'm sorry to know how that happened.
It's fine, don't worry about it. We can clean it up, don't worry.
Sorry.
Vera, you go with Doreen to the shelter. These things always upset me so. You'll be more used than me.
So, armed with the blankets, the 3 of us set out to find Harry. Auntie Doreen was so brave, and I'll never forget the courage of that young sailor lad. As we reached College Road School, I saw Douglas helping injured people into a waiting ambulance.
What are you doing down here, Vera?
Well, the sailor came to tell us my Uncle Harry's been injured in the raid tonight, and Auntie Doreen and I have been looking for him. He's got to be around here somewhere.
Well, they're taking the injured into that ambulance over there. I mean, is that him? On a stretcher?
Excuse me, miss. I must be going now. I have to get back to Boscrow and Block. I should have reported there hours ago.
Thank you so much for your help.
Bye.
Is that a relative of yours, Vera?
No, I've never met him before tonight. I don't even know his name. I should have asked for his name. It's too late now. He was a very brave young man risking his life for a complete stranger.
Ships that pass in the night, eh?
Auntie Doreen was trying to talk to Uncle Harry, but he didn't seem to recognise her at all.
Harry? Harry, I'm here now. Can you hear me? What have you done? I'm always telling you to look after yourself, and now look what you've done. But don't worry, Harry, I'm going to stay with you, love. I'll come with you in the ambulance. And it's all right. Those girls are safe and well.
Sorry, love. We've already got 2 in the ambulance already. We've not got enough room for you and him as well.
Oh, can't you let me go with him?
I would if I could, love, but we just haven't got, we have to take the Indians to the hospital and we just haven't got room for anyone else.
Where are you taking him to?
We don't know yet. It depends on which casualties there are and which hospital has a space.
Look, we'll go and look for him as soon as he gets light, I promise.
I'll help you get back to your house.
Why won't they let me stay with him? He'll be so worried when he wakes up and I'm not there.
No, we can go with him in the morning. We'll find him, I promise. He'll be a lot better by then.
The fires raged across the city that night.
What I don't understand is why all these buildings are left to burn to the ground. It's not as though we're short of water. We're surrounded by the stuff. I mean, what are the use of seawater? There's plenty of that.
If only it was that simple. All the underground water pipes have been destroyed. The problem is getting the water to the fire. Anyway, there aren't enough firefighters or fire engines in Plymouth to fight this kind of destruction.
So buildings were allowed to burn to the ground.
At one point, it seemed that the entire city was engulfed by flames.
Almost the whole of Union Street seemed to be on fire.
The Stonehouse Barracks and the Naval Barracks, they're both ablaze.
As were parts of the Royal William Yard.
The mainline railway station had been hit, and 2 trains burnt out.
It seemed at times that all one could do was stand and watch as the city went up
In fire
and smoke.
Douglas was trying hard to be the gallant gent. He accompanied me and Aunt Doreen all the way home. I'm not laughing at him. It was quite nice of him, really. When we got home, we saw that Mum was trying to clear up the mess from the bombing raid, and Dad had gotten home too. But he looked exhausted.
We can't leave the front room like this, Vera.
Leave it, Mum. We can clean it up later.
The doors have blown off their hinges again. That's the second time this week. Oh, I can't stand much more of this, Vera. I'm too on edge to sleep now. I need to try and clean this mess. I hate all this commotion everywhere. I like everything in its place, like it was before this damn war.
She won't listen to anybody. I've told her to leave it and get some sleep. They say Devonport's got the worst of it tonight. I mean, our street's been badly damaged, but, well, none of the houses down our end received a direct hit. But you look down the other end, some of those houses are gone completely. Those fascist bastards. Vera, what's the news on Uncle Harry? Where is he now?
We don't know. But we're going to look for Uncle Harry as soon as it gets light.
Oh. What's that table doing there? That table should be out the back.
Don't get me started.
We've been sheltering under it under the rain.
Why sheltering under that's not going to be much use.
Well, we didn't have time to get to the shelter, and Nora didn't want to go under that cupboard under the stairs again.
I hope you don't mind me interrupting.
Well, who are you, young man?
This is Douglas. He's been helping me with Uncle Harry.
Well, a lot of folk are just leaving the city in the evening, you know, to try and get as far away as possible from the bombs. You can get a bus part of the way, or you can hitch a lift in one of the lorries going out of the city. You could always do that.
Well, so where are all these people going?
Plimpton, Yalverton, Roeborough. In fact, Plimpton Grammar School has been opened up as a rest centre. Get a free supper and a free breakfast and the loan of a thick blanket to sleep under. Some folk they just sleep in the back of the lorries.
What are the lorries doing out there?
Wow, so many lorries are being destroyed by all these bombs. They send them out to Dartmoor each night to keep them safe.
What? Look after the lorries? Oh, yeah. Well, what about us? I mean, no one seems to care that much about us, do they?
I've heard about that too. People are taking tents and blankets and sleeping out on the moors. Ben's better than staying in the city to be bombed to smithereens. People are sleeping in churches and village halls, wherever they can find, really.
Well, now this is an outrage. What are the government doing about this? You think they even know what's happening to the poor people of Plymouth? Do they help?
We don't need one of your lectures stretchers now, Bill.
The big heads in London don't care about the likes of you and me, Doreen. You think they even know what's going on down here? I mean, Plymouth don't even feature on the national news bulletins. I tell you, it's all being hushed up. I mean, where are our leaders now? Have they been down here to see what's happening to the poor people of Plymouth?
Now is not the time.
I can't stop thinking about my Harry lying there all alone in hospital. It's no good. I'll have to go and find him. I can't rest till I know where he is.
I volunteered to go with Doreen to try and find Harry, but Vera insisted I stay home and look after Nora in view of her nervous disposition. She wasn't always like this, not for the war. When we were first married, she was a cheeky little thing, always full of fun and adventure. The war changed all that.
I'll come with you, Vera, if you want.
Thank you.
Vera, you go to the main hospital at Greenbank. See if you can find Harry from there.
By April 1941, Plymouth was a city of refugees.
People were refugees in their own city.
Hundreds of folk were homeless, wandering the streets like ghosts.
Their lives and their livelihoods broken beyond repair.
People felt lost and bewildered.
Their homes smashed, their possessions destroyed.
Their food was gone, nowhere to cook, nowhere to wash. They depended on the charity of others.
Those who could stayed with family and friends.
But thousands lived from day to day amidst the smoking ruins.
The civic authorities advised people to leave the city until the bombing stopped.
Well, some managed to escape.
But for many, they had nowhere to go.
They had no choice
But to try to live among the ruins of our lives.
When we reached the hospital, we saw the city hospital opposite had been bombed. Huge parts of it had been destroyed.
And when we got to Greenbank Hospital, what a sight we saw there.
It was awful. There were stretchers everywhere.
In the reception hall and down the corridor, there was people lying on stretchers as far as the eye could see.
But eventually, one of the nurses came to tell us that she thought Harry was just down the corridor.
And when I saw him, I feared the worst. He didn't seem to recognise me. Harry? Harry, it's Doreen, love. His hands and face were pitted with grit from the road. And Vera, look at his hair. It's covered in dust and debris. You think somebody could have combed his hair? He was very proud of his full head of hair, is my Harry.
Then we saw the ambulance man who brought Harry to the hospital.
The doctor has only been able to treat his most serious injuries. There just hasn't been time to look at his hands and his face in the circumstance.
Is he going to be okay?
Is he your dad?
No. He's my uncle.
He's comfortable at the moment. Do you want the truth, Theo?
Yes, please.
The doctor has said his body is badly crushed, his legs are badly damaged. I'm afraid to say they don't provide much hope. I'm sorry.
What did he say?
He said that they're doing everything that they can for him.
I'll stay. You go, I'll be all right.
Is it bad news, Vera?
I don't think Uncle Harry's going to survive.
Does your Auntie Doreen know?
I don't know how to tell her, and Mum doesn't know either because she's too distraught at the moment. I just don't know what to do.
Harry lingered on for a few more days, but I think we all knew he wasn't going to make it.
We went to visit him every day, but he never gave any sign that he knew us.
His sisters, Ivy and Edna, they came over to visit him from Stonehouse. They had to hitchhike because there was no transport.
And when Harry died a few days later, we said he died to save us girls. He gave his life for us.
And that was my first encounter with death. And I'll never forget that night until the day I die. Crammed under that table. The scene at the hospital. My young sailor boy. All those men and women working throughout the night trying to rescue people. Trying to save lives.
On the night of the 21st of April in Devonport, the Boscawen block, which was full of sailors sheltering from the bombs, was totally destroyed with a huge loss of lives.
I wonder what will happen to my young sailor boy. I hope that his good deeds saved him after all.
As if this wasn't enough destruction, the following night will be forever etched into the hearts and minds of all Plymouth people.
Near to the centre of the city, in Portland Square,
one of the city's largest underground air raid shelters suffered a direct hit from a high explosive bomb.
72 people were killed in that air shelter.
And only 2 people survived.
Meanwhile, in the holiday resort of Torquay, people noticed the fire-red sky as they went to bed exhausted. Exhausted not from enemy action, but from a surfeit of alcohol, dancing and wild parties. You see, Torquay during the war had become a playground for the rich evacuees from London. So while the folk in Torquay were dancing the nights away, Plymouth was in the process of being destroyed by fire and bombs.
A.P. Twyford, a journalist for the Western Morning News, summed up the mood of Plymouth as the first rays of dawn crept across the city.
But after night comes the dawn. Those of us who went through the Plymouth raids will not forget those dawns and the grim pictures which the stricken city presented. On this morning, tragedy stalked with heavy feet. Old wounds were gashed anew. New, gaping wounds were opened.
As the morning dawned, everybody would slowly sit up and beware that
we were still alive.
And when at last the all clear sounded, we would wearily climb out of the shelters
and look towards the direction of the city centre. There was an eerie glow everywhere because there were so many fires still raging.
The smoke and a huge red glow from the burning buildings could be seen in the sky from miles away.
Luckily our street seemed to have survived again.
People had started to gather outside.
Just thankful to be alive.
It was noticeable that at such times, people didn't say much.
You all right?
Yes, thank you. You?
Yeah? Thanks.
Everyone was just stunned.
Tiredness was our worst enemy.
That and the endless struggle to try to find some food.
Plus, of course, the constant battle to conserve water, because it didn't take long for the water mains to be fractured and the gas and electricity to be cut off.
Most kept the water in their baths or in buckets to make sure they didn't run out.
And then the endless job of clearing up the damage, broken windows, doors split everywhere, dust everywhere.
Now, one Swedish journalist, he described the scene in Plymouth in these words.
The damage to Plymouth after the latest German attacks is undoubtedly greater and more serious than any inflicted on any British town so far in this war. It is even worse in Coventry. I have seen the bombed areas of Birmingham, London, Coventry and Southampton, and I would never have thought that an air attack could wreak such havoc as in such destruction as in the case of Plymouth.
That's right.
Nora, I've decided I'm going to go and stay with Ernie's relatives in Cornwall.
Are you sure, Mrs. Netherton?
Yes, I can't stand any more of this bombing and destruction.
Oh. Well, I don't blame you, but when are you planning on leaving?
Right away. This afternoon if I can. I haven't got much to pack. A few clothes for the baby. Most of my possessions were destroyed in the bombings last week. But I shall never forget your kindness in taking me in when I had nowhere else to go. I was wondering if you could help me get to the railway station?
Oh, of course, dear. Vera will help you, I'm sure.
We couldn't get into town to get to the train, so I went with her to St. Udo station to catch the train. The little station was absolutely packed with people who had either got bombed out or decided that they just couldn't take it anymore. With their belongings tied up in tablecloths and such like. It was like the cinema newsreels of the refugees when France fell. When a train eventually did come, they crammed themselves into it so tightly that it couldn't take anymore, and the rest had to wait for the next train.
I eventually found a space in the very end carriage. A nice young man gave up a seat for me. It was very kind of him. Oh, thank you for your help, Vera. If by any chance my husband Ernie comes looking for me, tell him I've gone to his uncle's place in Polperro.
Have you got an address at Polperro?
Oh, Ernie will know where I am. Not that I've heard anything from my husband in the last 2 months. Last I heard he was on a ship heading to North Africa. He probably doesn't know about the baby yet.
Well, that'd be a nice surprise for him when he returns.
Oh, give my love to your mum and the rest of your family.
Well, perhaps we'll meet again. Someday in the future.
Yes, perhaps. Oh, I hope so, Vera.
We never heard from Mrs. Netherton again. Nor her husband. But I will never forget that night we spent together, crammed under that table, shaking and shivering and fearing that any moment might be our last. St. Andrew's Church.
Was Harry's favourite church in Plymouth.
But of course, when we got there, we saw the place was in ruins.
It was too dangerous to go inside, so we stood outside, bowed our heads, and said a quiet prayer for Uncle Harry.
Then we noticed a small wooden sign that someone had placed there, with one word roughly written on it. Resurgam. I shall rise again. I think that one word sums up the will and the determination of the people of this city. I shall rise again.
The year was 1941.
April 1941.
The place was Plymouth.
Our story was about the people of Plymouth.
People like you.
And me.
Your mother, your sister.
Your brother, your uncle.
Bus drivers, caretakers, shop assistants.
Teachers, nurses, firemen.
Welders and bricklayers.
Electricians and dentists.
Young and old.
And story was about us.
And our story was about a young woman called Vera on the night of the 21st of April 1941.